I think about my life in the past, I would say my life has been, very, very uh, eventful. For example, a lot of things and a lot of places I have to move, lots of places I live, and in the U.S., especially in the U.S., and I realized that yeah, I became an American, probably in my heart as well. Although I was born in Japan, I was growing up until 1976, right? And so I'm a Japanese person in heart. But then, I lived here about almost like a 50 years, right? Therefore, I'm wondering what it means to be an American. So I never felt like I'm American. Always like outsiders, looking up American cultures and American landscapes, TV program, pop music. All these things is something I really loved when I was in Japan. That particular feeling still remains there at the age of 77, still remains very, very strong in that particular sentiment. So, you know, uh, almost like you lived here much, much longer than I lived in Japan. I still feel like I'm Japanese. I still associate my sentiments, my feelings, my sentimentality is all coming from Japanese culture. And so I realized this year, for example, because I started to watch the old Japanese film, 1950s, 1960s, Kurosawa's films, and Ozu films, and Mikio Naruse's films, and I all identify those lives during that time, and a very, very nostalgic I feel about it. So yeah, in my heart still I have a strong cultural, social ties to Japan there, and I'm just wondering why that is. Um, I think just because you grew up when you were younger, uh, that particular experience that you grew up, I think that's ingrained in your brain for the rest of your life. And even though you have a much more different experience after that, when you're 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s, you have tremendous experience there. But the experience you have in your young age was tremendously impactful and strong, remains there for a long time. And of course, during that time when you're young, your health is the best, right? Your sensibility to sensitivity to react to the external stimulation is higher. I really think that is true because many things I experienced in the past. The most strong impact is like when you're younger, like music, movies, and books, for example. Books is kind of a different. I got interested in reading books, literature mostly, when I got like almost like 60 years old. So I felt like I got rejuvenated around that time. I felt like I was like 20 years old at the time because that's when I started to discover the enjoyment of the reading books, especially world literature. And so that's for me is like my youth there because when I was younger, 20s and 30s, 20, even teens, I guess, I wasn't interested in reading literatures at all, even though that was something that you know you want to do that, and I was aware some people are very much into reading books, but I wasn't. So that particular enjoyment came much later, and so that discovery is, I think, for me, it was good because some people never uh, discover the fun of reading, for example. Most people do, but some people don't, because you have to have some kind of exposure, some type of this leading moment to that particular enjoyment, I would say. Yeah, so about the movies, I think it is more or less like my culture growing up there, 1950s, 60s, 70s. The movies always there. And I never thought the movie culture remains that strong, even today. So movie culture, I think, became a tremendous impact to the people's mind when you grew up in 20th century, especially 21st century. It's tremendously impactful. So that's a human culture there. Human culture developed slowly from biblical time, and each period has a tremendous explosions of culture. I think books culture, maybe 19th century is a peak. Music culture, classical music, for example, is of course 19th century, early 20th century is a peak there. So if you establish those, people establish those culture, and of course that remains very strong for the rest of the human history, and so that's going to remain strong in the future as well. Even though today, the culture is changing, people's entertainment is changing so much. I was looking at my grandchild's entertainment today. They are already enjoying tremendously about this YouTube culture, for example, TikTok, for example, and still movie culture, K-pop, demon, not the Slayer, demon hunters, right? K-pop demon hunters. They are very much into that as a kid of 4 years, 5 years old, 6 years old kid. They are deep into that. So, wow, that's going to be tremendously strong for their life when they grow up in their teens and 20s, I would say. And the culture is very different from mine, of course, and also today's young people's culture. I think it's going to be very different in the future. So, yeah, I think it's human history, human culture are very interesting in that way. And, just because they have those media, the written forms by books and visual forms of photograph and movies, I think they's going to be remaining for rest of their human history for a long time. Otherwise, people go to the different, from here in 100 years from now, I think it's going to be very different. And who's going to remember those things? But lucky for us that those recorded history there, and that's going to be tremendously cultural events in the past. As you know, that if today even I think people enjoy the classical music, for example. That's the 18th century, 19th centuries culture, big culture there in Europe. I think that particular culture it's going to remain, but as you know, most people young people would not enjoy those music anymore much. Population-wise percentage, I think only selected populations will enjoy them. But I think it's going to be remaining to be enjoyable things in future as well, because those culture has a peak, and then this peak, if you reach the peak, I think kind of a going down, and that particular peak will never surpass. If you reach that the Beethoven's, Mozart, Brahms, or that type of particular culture, it's not going to surpass there. That's what I'm thinking. Unless something brand new form of music comes out and it's very, very different. Until then, it's not going to surpass that particular classical music genre. Classical music also, it's going to evolve along the human history. I would say the modern music is not that much of a modern classical music. I would say it's not popular as much as 19th century classical music. But who knows? People start to appreciate more and more those music. I loved the Russian composer like Shostakovich, Prokofiev, and Rachmaninoff, Stravinsky, all this modern classical music. I really love that now, but in future, I'm not sure how that's going to play out. But it's going to be, still very, very popular music there. I can see those things are very popular. But culture-wise, living like 77 years in my history, I realized, yeah, the culture I grew up with is the one culture I grew up with. People who are resonating with me is my generation. I think maybe 20 years younger or 20 years older generation is tremendously different from my generation's culture. So it is kind of interesting. You lived in this particular culture when your lifetime, and you die at the end of your lifespan. And yeah, that's the culture you lived. That's the culture you enjoyed. So what can I say? You have one life to live, and you happen to live in the particular lifetime. So why not enjoy your life in the cultural events, cultural things, artifacts, all this traveling? I think you have to enjoy it, because that's where you feel like your own life there, and your own life is just one life to live. So it is interesting that young people never realize that until they get older. Yeah, your life is ending, and so then you realize that your own life is, that's the life that you had, and regrets or satisfactions or fulfillment, regardless of it, that's the life you had. And to come to think of it, even though you have a tremendously tough life, but that's the life you had. So even you have a tough life, that becomes your very, very cherished life there. And for me, it's including for me that life has been tough. Life has lots of events. It's not consistent. It's changing all the time. Not just because of the external environment changes or external forces change, but also internally your feelings or your hobbies or your interest changes so much. And that's what I didn't expect my passions or my past interests would never go away, I thought. But it's go away because the new things comes in and you go into that new thing, that old thing is gone. And that particular feeling, yeah, I would like to convey to you, yeah, it's temporal, very, very transient. So you don't have to stick to it. You don't have to be stubborn to keep the particular lifestyles or enjoyments there, because new enjoyments comes in and takes over, and that's tremendously invigorating and stimulating as well. And so you realize, wow, you changed. But in that particular lifetime of yours, that change is a very, very good thing. Yeah, so yeah, you have to think about that. The changes you have to appreciate, even though it changes to the very, very different directions, and maybe you suffer from something, but after a while, you kind of get over that particular difficult times, and that become a precious time looking back. So that's very interesting. That's my, 77-year-old man. As an old man, I would convey to you every bit of your life is become very precious, very appreciative. So during the course, it's kind of a silly that you complain, and you complain about your difficult times that much, and your poverty or your unemployment, or some loneliness, whatever. Regardless of it, you really, really uh, remember the good times, even that particular difficult time. So you have to take it with you, that particular good time with you when you pass away. And that's my, message to you guys. I really start to feel that is the way to do it. Then you don't feel like, wow, I could have done that, or I should have done that, or, if the luck is, could have been with me, my life changed much, much better. But nonetheless, you have just one time life. Okay, so looking back, your one-time life never changes, right? So it's kind of a silly to regret. I think you kind of cherish the life you had, and cherish you have great time, even the particular difficult times. I think that's my message here. Okay.